So it has been a very interesting correlation that I see developing over here, that we are continuously talking about monitoring, we're continuously talking about observability, and we're continuously relating it with cost optimization. So I think it's imperative at this point that we start pointing things out, that okay, fine, cost optimization is totally dependent on our monitoring tools. So what kind of monitoring tools would you use? I mean, I would start with Taimur, because I do know from the case studies we've been seeing that whenever, the whole infrastructure cost is always on one side and the database cost, they're like pretty much on the other side. So Taimur, I would love to hear more about like how exactly are we monitoring these things.
So, Sidra, thank you again for acknowledging that what we go through. But what I'd like to add, definitely, because uh, when it comes to monitoring, we need to keep a very close eye on how the data sets grow, what state the databases are in, whether they're running anything or they're in an idle state, and just they're running and increasing the cost. Because, like Sidra, you mentioned, database costs are on the higher side for cloud. So for these, what we do is that for storage, we have a lot of tools like AWS has CloudWatch. That lets us know the exact storage that we levels we're on. And for managed databases like Amazon RDS and Google Cloud SQL, we have Google for Google Cloud, we have a Google Cloud Monitor, which monitors the databases on a regular instance and generates alerts when nothing is executing and it's in an idle state, so that we can automate that. So that is when we can downscale, or we can turn off the database for till when it is required. Same with Amazon RDS. It has a monitoring tool built in which monitors the database regularly, and whenever it's in an idle state, it generates an alert which we can then again automate, so to turn it down. And but these are the databases and the storage costs. These are tremendous, I would rather say. When you compare it to other functions like cloud functions or AWS Lambda, or even cloud storage isn't that much, because it doesn't cost as much. But like I said, blink an eye, and your cloud volume will be through the roof. So this is basically how we monitor. Yeah, Shuja, please.
So yeah, if you ask me, I have been working like for more than a decade on the cloud infrastructure. So these cloud providers are providing right sort of tools to like monitor your infrastructure. Not just monitor your infrastructure, they are also helping you monitor the cost of the infrastructure as well. If we talk about AWS, the other day they giving you, like, if you go back a decade, they start giving you billing but then people starting asking about nitty gritty of the billing details, so they gave you cost explorer, and now just now they have given more insight on the cost, exactly what part of the service is costing you in that specific service. So if you ask me, there is like multiple factors. Maybe I am being charged because of data transfer, maybe I'm being charged because I'm using high compute resources. So there are always alternatives out there available. If we talk about data transfer, we need to like smartly plan our infrastructure. I have seen multiple customers having their infrastructure on the public cloud, and in fact not just public cloud, even the inter-service communication are being happening from the internet, like from the public cloud. So when we talk communicating through the public cloud, the data transfer cost is different. But when we talk about talking within services within the private network, like within the AWS network, the cost is different. So we need to like smartly plan our infrastructure. That's how we can like limit our data transfer costs. So this is one of the examples from my experience. Other than that, we can like go for reserve and spot instances. I know we understand spot instances do turn off on the need by basis, and we cannot implement it everywhere, but we can utilize it smartly in our infrastructure. If we say we have a batching that, like that you mentioned, we need to make sure our batching algorithm or our reporting needs to be executed on a specific time. I think this is the best use case scenario where you can use spot instances, because they are just throwing the data out on the reporting platform, and that's where it is required. So spot doesn't cost you a fortune. In fact, those resources AWS have spare on their infrastructure, and they are looking for someone, please take it up and at least we can get something out of it. So that's how exactly Spot can help you optimize the cost. Similarly, go with reserve instances. I know I need this kind of capacity, and I'm not going out of business for like next 5 or 10 years. Why I should be like going still on the pay as you go model? I can have a reserve instances where obviously I'm paying maybe some upfront, and maybe I'm not going for some upfront as well. AWS have very smart models around that as well. If you just commit that you will be using this for next 1 year or maybe 6 months, they will like just create your cycle of billing according to that, and they will just charge you more or less than on the on demand or maybe a pay as you go model. So this is where these kind of smart methodologies will always help you. But since you said we already have that monitoring data, and there is always a pain where there is our lower environments. By lower I mean staging, test, QA, UAT, dev, whatever you call it. These kind of environments are also running for multiple companies 24/7. We have onboarded a company on our panel. What we realized, we can like easily impact 35% of cost of their infrastructure by just turning the infrastructure off during the non-off hours. Sorry, during the off hours. So this is how exactly we go by. There is a very smart tool known as Cloud Custodian. It's an open source tool. Maybe many people don't know about it, but what exactly it is used for, it can like we implement policies as a code in the infrastructure of the customer. So how this help us in optimizing the cost? We just created a policy like after 6 p.m. everything needs to be turned off in the infrastructure, and it should be turning back on next day on 8 a.m. before 8 a.m. So this policy just executes after one another and make sure infrastructure is up before everybody is available on the floor, and it's turned off when everybody is not on the floor. And similarly, over the weekend we are doing the same infrastructure, same kind of policy execution. So these kind of smart methodologies always help you optimize the cost as much as possible.